Jiro here for Umbra Games, bringing you a review of a PC game I didn't want to wait for a console release in order to play, especially because there aren't even any plans for it. XCOM 2. There are very few games that have been able to keep me up for consecutive days until the wee hours of the morning like XCOM Enemy Unknown did. The basic format of XCOM 2 stays the same as 2012's XCOM Enemy Unknown, juggling you between resource management simulation and tactical squad-based isometric turn-based alien slaughtering combat. So it's been 20 years since the retaliation for repelling the initial alien invasion, and Earth signed a peace treaty with the suckers. The aliens control every aspect of human lives, including doing gene therapy for more immediate obedience. As a commander, it's your job to lead the resistance and win back Earth. This time, your base is a repurposed alien ship called the Avenger, which you can fly around the world and unite the rebel cells. As you gain resources, you can clear out rooms in the ship and then install your own facilities to do research and weapon building and the like. When a mission comes about, you tell the Avenger where to go and which soldiers to deploy, starting with 4 initial slots, up to a total of 6 unlockable. Your soldiers belong to one of 4 starting classes: Ranger, Sharpshooter, Grenadier, and Specialist, each with unique skill choices at every rank up. One skill that stands out is the ability to hack. Every soldier has a hack stat, and the Specialist class can use this the most, with skill options to stun, take control, or damage mechanical enemies. There are towers and network points that can be hacked with a chance to gain permanent hack skill increase, debuffs to enemies currently on the map, or buffs to your soldiers. Hacking requires no player skill, as it's deduced by the skill of your soldier and given a random percentage of success, much like shots with firearms. But it definitely can add an extra strategic layer to gameplay. For some reason, this soldier customization has always been a highlight for me, as you can give a first name and a last name to each one, and when they rank up a few times, their fellow soldiers will give them a random nickname. It's just good fun. Since I was doing recording and broadcasting this, though, I didn't change the names in order to protect the innocent. But there are quite a few faces, hairstyles, and accessories you can customize with tons of colors, including a nice hot pink gun for the ladies, or guys, no one's judging. Once your team has landed on the map, you begin scouting for enemy troops, often with your objective's general direction highlighted. On most missions, you begin in cover, or concealment, until you enter a tile that has an enemy's line of sight on it, or you attack them first. Each of your soldiers gets 2 action points, where they can choose to move within a blue radius, and take in 1 action point in most cases, or take both action points to move further, the exception being the sharpshooter requiring both action points to fire a sniper rifle. Locations can provide cover, represented by a half or full shield, decreasing, in quotes, the chance that they can be hit by enemy fire. I say quotes, and I don't really mean this as a complaint because I do understand how probability works, but this game just sometimes seems unfair. I don't remember feeling this to this degree in the first game, but as I'm lining up my soldiers' shots, whether it's a 30% or 80% chance to hit, I'll still attempt the shot, and it seems like I make the 30 just as much as I miss the 80. Which, in a truly random system, is exactly how it should be. But when a soldier's life is on the line, it doesn't make it any less frustrating. A hit on your soldier can take them out of the game for days as they recover from their wounds, and if hit too many times, they'll lose their will stat, making them more susceptible to mind control and panic and other nasty head issues. Overwatch is still around where you can use your second turn to put your soldier on sentry, and if anything moves in front of them, they'll take a reaction shot. Keep in mind, it is a reaction shot though, and miss more often than not. The actual tactical mission structure, too, provides some much-needed diversity from Enemy Unknown, as instead of just always wiping out all enemies on a map, you'll have to escort a VIP, or capture and kill a VIP, obtain an item, hack a computer, protect a network terminal, etc. On top of the aforementioned concealment, if a map is set up just right, you can even get in and out without firing a single shot. Yeah, it only happened once for me, but it was neat. So instead of starting the game with a council full of countries like Enemy Within or the old school UFO Defense, you instead start with nothing and no friends, and then you pick up regions, establishing communication links between territories, allowing you to make more and more connections. The open map and choosing your routes is really fun, but there's still quite a bit of randomness in what's going to hit you next. Upon nearly every event you complete, a cache of some kind will pop up that you seem to have to at least take an interest in, wasting hours flying there, even if you're in the middle of scanning something else, and then you have to return later and scan it for 5 to 6 days in order to obtain it. Council missions are the same, and if you fail one or ignore it, you start to lose your contacts, and consequently your monthly income will go down, which is no longer given to you. You have to go and scan for the supplies for a few days in order to obtain it as well. There is also a second currency in XCOM 2 called Intel, which if you happen to have any downtime, you can scan at headquarters to slowly increase this amount. Intel is used to establish the contacts that you find, as well as reveal dark events, more on those in a moment, and to purchase things from the black market. There are quite a few items to research and buy, and in the early stages of the game you always feel just a little bit behind where you're having to prioritize your needs. It gives you an uncomfortable feeling, but that's well placed in this type of alien apocalypse. There's some new types of challenges also presented in XCOM 2 in the form of dark events. These events will hit Earth occasionally and of random type, including increasing alien armor, increasing the panic meter, reducing alien-based production time, or increasing resource costs. You can delay or stop ones of your choice by engaging in guerrilla activities, much like the council missions in games before. For those that have played the first of the new XCOMs, there are a couple of nice improvements. For example, the sniper has an ability that pops up if you've taken one action point of movement, enabling them to just go into pistol Overwatch, instead of switching their weapon to the pistol and then clicking Overwatch. There's also a school for rookies you can build where you can put a new soldier in and choose what class you want them to be, and in a couple of days they pop out as a squaddie on that tree. So my biggest pet peeve with the last game was the enemy's ability to shoot through and see through walls, and I really hoped, of all the things, that this is what they fixed for this entry. However, if anything, I feel the problem is now magnified. I even got pulled through 2 unbroken windows by a Viper tongue without even breaking them. What it really boils down to is even full cover is merely just something to reduce the hit percentage. I mean, maybe they did playtesting and the game was just too easy if the player found good cover. I guess they could probably offer the same argument with the frustrating fact that enemies get to move and scatter whenever you discover them before you even get to take a shot. I mean, if we think about how this game probably plays out in real life, all soldiers would essentially be moving in unison, but we get the joy and ease of pointing and clicking one at a time. So how and why would these aliens get time to react? I mean, as long as you don't see them, they don't move, but the second they're lit up and not in the fog of war, that's when they react. XCOM 2 attempts some new environmental mechanics like flames spreading to new tiles and eventually taking down structures. Sometimes it's not quite obvious when something's going on, as all of a sudden, for example, my sniper is gone from a roof and on fire, and I find him 2 floors below. I loaded back a couple of turns to see what had happened, and then there really wasn't a sign that the fire was crawling up. Sometimes sides of buildings would explode as I'd swing a ranger sword through an enemy a couple of tiles away. I mean, all of this just kind of makes me wonder why this game had to be a PC exclusive and not on consoles like the first. I mean, Firaxis is said to use the same Unreal 3.5 engine, as they call it, the Unreal 3 heavily modified. And I have a really decent computer, and with settings turned all the way up, the game would still choke. Hell, half the time the way I knew I had triggered an enemy presence was my character would stop for a second their walking path before continuing on, like the game was loading it. But you can't tell me it's because of some particles or high-resolution graphics either, because it honestly seems like it has to be a mismanagement of hardware. I mean, come on, this game's turn-based. Not everything has to happen at once. Load times, especially when leaving after completing a mission, could turn into minutes. I mean, the weirdest thing, and I'm not even pulling your leg here, I can't remember now where I read it, but some article mentioned pressing the caps lock key on return flights and it would instantly proceed. Seriously, it works. I know it's difficult to capture in a recording and display this nonsense, but you could very literally press caps lock the second the loading screen pops up, and you're done. Well, except for the time it crashed. Now, they said they wanted to design a PC prominent interface, but I don't know that it felt any more smooth on a mouse and keyboard than a controller did. In fact, oftentimes it would misclick, moving my cursor at the last second because I was at an awkward viewing angle. I mean, I guess a PS4 controller doesn't have a caps lock key, though. Also, one other thing on that, too, on the last mission, about 90 minutes into it, all the AI just died entirely and enemies just stopped moving on their turn. I really didn't feel like restarting at the time, and seeing if the AI was fixed, it was about the 50-hour mark I was ready to see the game come to an end. So the final 20 aliens I plowed through, including the main bosses, didn't even lift a finger to stop me. Also, speaking of a keyboard and mouse though, I actually used my Steam Link about half the time while playing XCOM 2. For those not in the know, Steam Link was released by Valve, where you can take this box and plug a network cable into it and plug an HDMI cord from any TV, and it'll find the PC on your network with Steam and allow you to play games on your TV. The box has 3 USB ports for any combination of controller, keyboard, and mouse you want to use, and it works great with virtually no hassle. I say virtually because any session that reached, let's say 3 hours, Steam would shut down on the PC it was running from, causing the Steam Link to disconnect. When I'd go look at the PC, the game would still be running, but Steam would be closed. I don't know, needless to say, while Steam Link was handy, sitting down and playing at the PC with the mouse and keyboard did feel better. Now, I personally can't understand the multiplayer appeal in this game, but looking at the leaderboards, apparently some people do. You can choose loadouts from any of the game's assets, soldiers, and aliens, and go toe-to-toe in one-on-one matches with strangers. If that's your thing, more power to you. Overall, XCOM 2 had some pretty solid improvements. When I heard it was announced, I was really wondering how they're going to continue the story, and I mean, it was done beautifully. The new and/or redesigned alien types were fun to discover and learn how to defeat efficiently. The mission objectives were nice, and some of the upper-level class skills of soldiers got really fun to use. Like I said, the game doesn't run the greatest, and there were some weird misaims and collision glitches, but overall, XCOM 2 is a worthy follow-up if you enjoyed Enemy Unknown or Enemy Within. It didn't quite get the grip on me the other ones did. I mean, I have no desire to attempt an Iron Man mode, which disables saving, only allowing autosaves made by the game, so you can't restart if you're caught with your pants down, or your favorite soldier gets shot because you took a misstep. I would say, though, overall the difficulty of 2 is slightly higher too, except, you know, when enemies don't move. The XCOM series borders on strategy RPG and simulation, and rated as such lands at an 80 out of 100. This is Jiro from Umbra Games. Thanks for watching.